Um, good. What is it? Morning, 10 o'clock-ish. Oh, we're back at the yield though. Really missed those 24 hours we weren't talking about it. I asked John to share just all the language in it, while we continue to all think our thoughts on the numbers. John, if you want to join us?
Everyone.
Morning, John.
Good morning, John Gray, up to Legislative Council. Beautiful sunny day.
Is it?
Here we are in happy State House. I don't know. I was trying to say something positive. It is positive. Okay, I also have something positive for you. A bill, the yield bill.
Oh, so
positive. I think this will be relatively simple to walk through. This is just collecting all of the items that we spoke about yesterday. So much of this you've already seen, and we're just going to have placeholders for the yields themselves because those haven't been selected yet. So, page 2, you can see the form of how the yields will look at the point that those figures have been chosen. If you do choose to include something like a reserve, I would need to add additional language to capture this, but it's the typical language that we use, notwithstanding the non-homestead rate and setting the property dollar equivalent yield and the income dollar equivalent yields. Section 2 is your cleanup for the statewide adjustment. This is amending the property tax credit chapter, and the simple way to explain this fix, to the extent that anyone is interested in this fix, is that okay, that's great. I'm glad that someone's interested. The idea here is that as the statewide adjustment was introduced, it has to flow through to so many places in the different chapters, including in the education property tax chapter and the property tax credit chapter. And this fix is basically to insulate the property tax credit chapter from needing to have a bunch of tweaks. That's the way that I would describe this. And the way that it does it is by pulling in that term to modify the tax rate that's used in that chapter. Then you don't have to touch all of the income figures. You don't have to touch the household, house site values themselves. You just can leave it alone. That's the goal here, is to isolate it and not need future fixes. That is the thinking. And if folks are more interested in that, I'm happy to talk offline about how it works. Because it does undo previous changes to try to make this much simpler and avoid future problems.
So you fixed it for a year and then you're gonna have to change it here.
I will say in the past, I have received the fixes, being new to this space. And I also think the statewide adjustment was just in the initial rollout phases. So I don't want to speak with too much confidence, but I've thought about this and I think this will be a long-term fix to the problem, but we will continue to think about it.
Okay, thank you.
Can you go back again?
Yes.
Statewide education tax rate, spending adjustment, and the statewide adjustment of tax per year.
Do you want me to say more about this?
No, this is calculating by the average statewide CLA, correct?
So the way that I would describe this is the issue that arose in this context is because the yields that are set now reflect the statewide adjustment. And so because the statewide adjustment is meant to be mathematically neutral,
Yes.
but just useful for presentation purposes on tax bills, because the yield already builds in the statewide adjustment, effectively, when you're applying the education property tax, you can think of your spending adjustment as reflecting your district's per pupil spend divided by the yield, which would be the old style yield multiplied by the statewide adjustment, so it would be in the denominator.
Yeah.
And then we cancel it out by dividing by the number resulting from dividing the CLA by the statewide adjustment. The same as multiplying by the statewide adjustment divided by the CLA. So you have the statewide adjustment in the numerator divided by the state. Exactly. So it cancels out on the ed property tax side. But for the property tax credit, we don't have the same offsetting. And so the way you can think of this is This says it's the property tax rate multiplied by your spending adjustment. So that would be already reflecting the statewide adjustment in the denominator, and it's multiplying here by the statewide adjustment, so you have a numerator to cancel out. That's the way that it works. Yep.
Just for giggles, what would happen if we got rid of the statewide adjustment?
Your tax bills would just look different in presentation. And you would have to set the yield differently because now it includes the statewide adjustment, but
We discussed this previously.
Well, we just passed the statewide adjustment three years ago.
Yeah, I wasn't here.
I'm refraining from describing any excitement at this process.
Today's supposed to be different from yesterday, Charlie. The other thing that would happen is the gap between district sort of pre-CLA and post-CLA stuff would, and the
Still
December
be the
1st
same.
letter would, yes.
Mathematically, the outcome should be the same.
Yeah.
I think the benefit that I've heard described is that there's less blame placed on the CLA for the increase in folks' tax rates. Whether or not that's fair or not, I don't know, but mathematically, the ratio,
Doesn't change any math, just.
I'm against feeling better, so
That's fine.
Great,
Yes, feeling
guys.
better.
okay. So that's the statewide adjustment fix. Section 3 is, you'll be familiar with language like this from the past, refunding City of Berry for previous overpayments of their tax increment. And there's the sum that I've included. I think this was based figures from Kirby, right? That's believe received them from.
Which is from our,
Westside. Yeah.
which is from the city itself, and this should be the last one,
Ah, really?
as I'm so told.
Can we also get that triple checked by the tax department?
Sorry, repeat that.
Yeah. The TIF numbers, just to make sure that,
Oh, sure.
yeah, thanks, the TIF correction numbers.
So the previous version of this you would have seen in years past was overpayments from 2016 through 2020, and this is picking up 21 through 24. The last,
Before the last, I'm gonna make a public service announcement that there's a possibility that we'll need to be here at 1 and miss announcements. Oh, you can't do that. Okay.
I've got a teleconference from 1 to probably 1:15.
I don't even know what bill we're working on. It's just a public service. We might need to be here at 1, so,
Okay.
okay. It'll be a really important one though, if you're not here.
Maple producers.
Yes.
Ooh.
section 4 you've seen before. This is your addition of a inflator to the census block grant. So none of those should be new language. But just to remind you, it codifies the uniform base amount for FY 27. This is on page 5 at 2,350. And it applies a 3-year rolling inflation based on NIPA. Same language we saw last week. It's front. And that is it. Lots of struck language because we don't need the transitionary language before. Effective July 1, 2026.
Thank you. Have any questions, thoughts on the language that's currently in the yield bill? Does anyone have anything that they think should get added in language to the yield bill that I have somehow lost? Or John has lost? Yes.
Know that it needs to go in the yield bill. I just unclear to me. There's lots of things we haven't been able to model that would be critical to looking at a transition on funding formula front. I don't know where we ask for those, because if we don't ask for them, it's not clear to me they'll be collected from districts. And if it's not collected from districts, it isn't available for us.
I think a great place for that would be the Act 73 transition bill.
So given that, does it make sense if there are things that have come up in our committee that we think we need to know? Does it make sense to prophylactically request that now, even though we have no idea where the yield bill is or whether it's coming to us?
I love your word choice and the, there's going to be a bill that moves related to Act 73. Who knows what the shape of it will be coming from the Education Committee. We have a lot of content that we would need to put in it. And so,
I think I'm asking a different question. I don't want to ask. I don't know how we go about requesting things. Like I am concerned because there's data we don't have, which has inhibited our ability to model things. And it's, you know, it's even the pre-K stuff.
Mhm.
And so if we're going to get that data, we have to actively ask the agency to collect it from
Mhm.
districts, or we're not gonna have.
Mhm.
Do I send you that list and you send it to that St. James to prophylactically withdraw it so that it can be dropped into a bill when it comes?
yeah, that would be
Okay,
great.
what I'm worried about is the fact that, I know they're flat out right now, and I think we're dropping a lot of balls.
Mm.
I will send you some suggestions.
Okay, thanks. Representative Bodie.
I mentioned it a long time ago, and it's not ready, I don't think, to this bill, but it's the healthcare negotiations and that.
That definitely does not go in the yield bill, but I appreciate that. And I would recommend talking to
With
the
that-
House General Committee about that,
House General.
because that is a union negotiating issue. And I do believe they have a bill on their wall. Okay. Any questions, thoughts about the language that John shared with us? Okay. Thank you, John.
Sure.
Does anyone want to look at the outlook again with Julio?
I was wondering, we saw a shortened outlook, and I was wondering, could we see the long end outlook, the longer one again?
Sure, it's just posted from last week still. The one with the, how we're not, I thought the one thing we had all agreed on was that whatever we do, we should do it uniformly. And so
Yeah.
so we cut the columns.
No, I meant, remember how we used to have a much longer list when we looked at everything on the outlook?
It's still there.
Really?
Still there. Uh-huh.
All right, never mind.
Okay.
Maybe the way.
Maybe we just didn't scroll all the way down or something. No, we haven't gotten rid of rows. Nope.
All right. in that
The rows are
case,
there.
No, I have nothing.
Okay, cool.
It
Representative
was so much shorter. And then she had said shorter, and I thought, it's like, man. Okay.
We removed the columns that were not uniform because I thought that was the one thing we had all.
I agree.
Okay. Representative Holcomb.
The only thing other thing that we haven't discussed, and I understand why you don't want to discuss it, but it is having an impact across multiple other policy initiatives, is the decision to weight tuition counts. It is affecting who's getting hit by the excess spending penalty. It is affecting the degree to which the gap between homestead and non-homestead rates for second homes is an issue in your district. It's going to affect the allowable growth thing that's probably going to get voted out of the Senate. It's going to affect the transition to in funding formula, because what we're doing is we're forcing operating districts to subsidize vouchers. And if we're going to do that, I think we need to have that out in the open, because right now we are setting up a set of incentives and dynamics that are pretty much determining the future of education.
I am happy to schedule more testimony on that next week.
My point is, I've asked repeatedly for some accounting. We can't even get the agency to report what
No.
those are. And the problem is we're losing vehicles. Like, we won't have opportunities to address that because we've chosen not to address it in a variety of bills that are currently leaving us.
I'm unclear what you would, so I just offered to said that we could do a hearing on it next week, and you said we don't know what we need to know to even have a hearing on it, so I'm not sure what the hearing would look like.
I am commenting that there could be, that you could put that piece in. I'm just conscious of the fact that this body has systematically taxed some people to subsidize a choice that all evidence suggests is more expensive.
And I think people might even say that about current use to some degree, right? Like, there's lots of ways that the way that we, or, what Carol was saying yesterday about Medicaid. I agree that it is something in the foundation formula that needs to be looked at more. And
It's not just the foundation formula. It affects who's impacted by the gap between the second home and the non-second home tax. It affects the excess spending penalties. It affects who's going to be affected by the allowable growth stuff that's coming over from the Senate. It's going to affect the transition, because we're going to use the EOP, which is disproportionately hit operating towns potentially, maybe not, to to subsidize the towns that have been hyper subsidized inappropriately in the transition, to get them to level up. And it's distorting our understanding of what the cost of education is in the state of Vermont. And we're using a cost factor approach, which is based on current cost. It's not based on what we think should be spent in education.
I have a question about this.
I want to just stay focused on the yield for a moment and see if anyone has anything else they want to add on the yield. Okay, Representative Bodie, your question.
I
Or
want to know, or my thought is, if there is a fix to this, even if we don't have all the information from the agency, you used to run the agency and you are very familiar with what's happening in that area, the state. So if you have a particular fix, let's put that, maybe it would be, put that in writing, and then let's look at it and let people come in and give their pros and cons about it in the witness chair, and let's see if we can get some movement on that. When you explain it to me, I think we could fix that. So
Do you mean the weight specifically or the lack
I
of
don't know
data?
how the weights are working in her area.
So my understanding is that Representative Burkhardt submitted a short form that. Did I see that somewhere? And then I went looking for it on our wall actually this morning and I didn't see it.
To look at the weighting.
Where is it?
I don't know.
On 127, right?
And I've shared previous.
But where actually is the short form? Because I remember seeing it like getting referred and then I don't see it on our wall.
I don't know.
Do you know where?
I don't know where it is.
Yeah.
It should have been referred and it was.
I actually have no idea where it went.
It never came here.
So
So we also
can-
have the language because I sent that earlier.
Yes. So can someone find the short form? We will do a hearing on it next week. Thank you, John.
It had to be if it wasn't here. I think this is very good. I think we should look at this.
Yes,
I'm glad.
I'm glad you're glad. So I don't hear any other thoughts from anyone on the yield bill. Katie is going to come in a moment. We think maybe. Yes, checking, okay. Because 657 is, might not be able to have her for 657 because of that Senate floor. And any other traffic control solution? Okay, thanks. We're gonna take a couple minute break.